Hey, yo! Let me talk to you! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Other Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for our news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Tim. I go by NWA Gold, and I am joined as always. Well, not as always. These guys were here last week, but I was off sick. Dave Scooby, how are you, sir?
Doing well.
Very good. And Jeremy, how are you, my friend?
Doing well.
Good. Well, I wish I could say the same. I look terrible, feel terrible, sound terrible. Everything's terrible today, but we're going to get through it, and I'm glad I'm here.
Are you feeling a little better? I mean, you go get married, and then you're sick of marriage, or
she'll hear you. No, yeah, I went and got married a couple of weeks ago. Thank you for bringing that up. But immediately afterward, we got COVID, and I had a week of all the symptoms you've heard about COVID. I got all of them. So you know that little line that comes up on the rapid test? It's like, it was so thick. It was like, you got all of the COVID now. So I'm just recovering from that, but feeling better and getting there. We are going to be looking at a lot of stuff today. This episode, we're going to be looking at NWA USA, which I enjoyed this past week.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to take a look at NWA Power, the results for that, which I did not enjoy. Jeremy's going to bring his intrepid reporting skills with some United Wrestling Network results out of Championship Wrestling from Memphis and Hollywood. Dave is going to look at the fantasy booking of Kamille and Taya Valkyrie through AAA Triplemania 30 and Hard Times 3. So that'll be fun. And we'll look at the top 5 women for wrestlers from the NWA in the power rankings this week. I do not expect our choices to be really any different from each other, but we'll see how it goes. But let's Willie Bowen's here in the chat. He says that Tyrus could just digest COVID. If he would do that, I'd be willing to give him the 10 pounds of gold. How about you guys?
No.
No. Not even if he'll do that for our society.
No.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting pay-per-view, and I think it's interesting, just before we get into it, that it's September 28th as we look at this show right now, and we're still like a couple of months away from Hard Times 3.
Yeah.
I think it's the end of November, or at least the middle. And the matches are getting set now, which seems to be pretty early in advance, and it's a different tactic than what we've seen from the NWA.
Yeah.
Dave, do you think they learned anything from 74 and making matches between nights 1 and night 2 at the last minute, or do you think this was well planned out?
I'm hoping it's something that they're working on planning. I mean, you don't have to give me the whole thing. The belts are going to be defended, but give me a good story going up to why they're going to be defended against certain people. I'm actually surprised that they put out so many things this early.
Yeah. I wonder with the strange tapings, well, not strange, but just their taping schedule, which all happens for a few days after the last pay-per-view, how it's going to roll out with so much time left towards, Hard Times 3. Like you've got a world title match, Jeremy, where it's now going to be Trevor Murdoch defending the 10 pounds of gold against not only Matt Cardona, but Tyrus. And you've got all of this time in between that filming period and now. Do you think it's going to work out? Like they're going to dole it out correctly on TV and let us see confrontations between them or anything else in the meantime?
I'm going to remain optimistic that that's how it plays out. I don't want to show too many of my cards because this is something that I want that I'm going to touch on in the USA recap that we do. But I do see where, and from my point of view anyways, where there are possibly some missed opportunities as far as booking, where we're getting multi-man matches when those possibly could have been tournaments. Even though I'm not a huge fan of tournaments, I like the 1v1 aspect of those a lot more than I do the multi-man matches. So
yeah, you and me both. And that's just something I would love to start getting away from, are those multi-person matches.
Yeah.
Jake Howe's here. Willie's here, as we know. Willie asked about our thoughts on WoW, owned by Jeannie Buss. Don't watch it. Either of you guys?
No, go ahead, Jeremy.
I haven't seen any of it. That was one of those I grew up with as a kid, and it was a novelty type thing for me, kind of like Glow a little bit. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Dave?
I've watched it just because I don't know them personally, but I've watched several of the wrestlers that are now featured wrestle for Championship Wrestling, and they just have new character names. But it's the 80s, it's Glow, it's character driven, and I mean it's only an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can watch it. It's roughly about 35 to 40 minutes of action, but they actually do some good production with highlighting this is wrestler so-and-so. They tell their story, and then they're in a match, which I actually liked. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if the NWA did more of what they were doing a couple seasons back, maybe 60 seconds of, hi, I'm wrestler so-and-so. This is what I want to accomplish.
Right.
Yep.
Well, you know, some of those storytellers aren't around anymore that NWA maybe could have picked up. I read this past week, Gabe Sapolsky's now with the WWE as a consultant.
Yeah.
Good, I mean, good for him, of course. And Cornette was saying Delirious is actually wrestling in Impact now. So he's not booking there, but he's apparently an on-air personality. So,
oh wow,
this is here's Jay saying, "Got to see my friend Reina Del Rey. Happy to see her. Awesome, that's
awesome.
great.
Oh yeah, go Rays. Yeah.
Let's get into NWA USA Season 4, Episode 4, which for this week, for my money, was the best of the two shows by far. Normally, I'm quietly jealous of the OG Alliance guys for being able to do the hour-long Power recap. That is a cross for them to bear this particular week. I'm afraid we won't have any problem just doing the results on that one. But NWA USA started off this week. I will pull my notes up because apparently I have lost them. Here we go. With the Fixers versus Gold Rush with Black G's for United States Tag Team title defense. So first, I believe it's the first title defense for the Fixers, guys.
And within 30 days.
Yep.
Within 30 days.
Yep. That's right. So Legursky dominates Clearwater at the start of this with size and weight, and a tag to Marche Rocket doesn't really help Gold Rush's situation as Bradley dominates him in turn. G's distracts Bradley to kind of turn it around, and Clearwater uses his power to take over on Bradley. You know, the height, the note I made here, the height that Marche Rocket gets on some of his moves, not even just the drop kick, which is basically the best drop kick in in the world right now. But like even a knee drop, that guy just goes like seemingly 5 feet in the air before he comes down.
Yeah.
He looks great. The crowd didn't seem to be into this one at all, so maybe just where it fell in the taping schedule. But Legursky tags in, slams everybody. Even Jay Bradley is part of a double team move. There's a double power bomb by the Fixers to retain as Legursky pins as Bradley keeps G's out as he tries to come into the ring. Dave, what'd you think of this match?
It was a good, hard-hitting match. I liked that they had a tag team wrestling the tag team.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd like to see more of Gold Rush, even though in my heart, I'd love to see Clearwater pushed a little more as a singles wrestler, because I believe he will be the breakout of that team. But I mean, like you were saying, Marche Rocket, I mean, for as long as he's been wrestling, he still has the moves.
Yeah.
He still does. And he's a natural, for me, he's a natural baby face.
Yeah.
That guy. He does a good job, like being heel backstage with the dark glasses and hey baby, stuff. But he's such a family guy on social media, and all the stuff he posts is so incredibly positive that it's hard for me to look at him that way. What did you think, Jeremy?
I really appreciated the multiple tag team moves that the Fixers performed. That's something that I feel has been missing a lot in tag team wrestling, is the multiple tag team moves that a tag team could have in their playbook.
Right.
The one thing that I didn't care for was when Black G's got involved and Legursky just stood on the apron, I didn't even hop off the apron to go like try and shoo him away or anything. I felt that was a missed opportunity in that spot to have a little interaction between those two. But other than that, it was a great match. I really enjoyed it.
It is the little things that matter in the end, isn't it? Like being able to get over there and get the interference cut off on the outside, and it would have played well. It would have made more sense for G's to be trying to jump in again and Bradley holding him off so Legursky could get the pin. Right.
Just storytelling wise, it smooths it out for me.
Right. Pollo is in the house. That's where we were waving at, in case nobody saw it earlier. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
And if you're in the chat, by the way, please speak up. There's a lot of people watching right now, and we'd love to hear your conversation in the read your conversation rather in the chat. We'll throw it up on the air. Willie says Jordan Clearwater should be a singles wrestler. He doesn't need Idiot Mania Sports Management. I mean, I think we all agree. We've talked about Jordan Clearwater, who is, of course, the UWN World Heavyweight Champion right now, being presented in the NWA in a different fashion than he is in the UWN.
Although I will say, though, that from his stuff with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, he does benefit with having someone that can talk not necessarily for him, but with him. He's still kind of new to the game, so he can talk, but it helps him to have somebody that's there with him. So not necessarily idle sports management, but I think he'd be a good matchup with possibly Jamie Stanley and what he's got going on.
That's a great idea. Oh, fantasy booker, Dave, look out.
No, that's all Dave's.
That's all Dave.
I'm so looking forward to Dave's fantasy booking today.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, we go immediately next to really the segment of the night, right off the bat, and it's Joe Galli with Tyrus in an earlier today segment.
Yeah.
And this is the big news around the National Wrestling Alliance this week. Joe, he starts talking about 74 and what Tyrus went through there. And Tyrus says, just say it. Just say it. I'm here with you because Trevor beat me. And Joe says, not at all. That's not what I wanted to get at. I wanted to ask, what's next for you past this now? And Tyrus says, there is no next. I hesitated. All my family were there. All my friends were there. And I should have taken that ring bell and planted it upside Trevor Murdoch's head, and I didn't. And I will get back to where I need to be, but I blew it. And he folds up the television championship very meaningfully and says, if it means giving up the thing that I love most, I'm ready to do that. And Joe says, it sounds like you're ready to cash in on the Lucky 7. Tyrus doesn't exactly say that in this segment, but he says, funny thing about championships, Joe, there's really only one, and it's the 10 pounds of gold. And although I guess you could look at that, Dave, as a little bit of a slam on the television title, I really liked not only this segment, but that particular line that in the end, all of these great titles we have aside, it is the 10 pounds of gold that he wants. And I was like, wow, this is finally one of those segments that I feel Tyrus coming through the screen. What did you think?
Yeah, it just amazes me. I mean, how emotional he was. Yeah. I could feel it through the screen. I'm like, you could feel the, damn it, I missed my chance. You can feel the frustration. And I mean, I really don't like having a three-way dance.
Yeah.
But if it helps add to the story, let's give it a shot. I mean, out of this, you're getting someone else who is going to be able to carry the belt, the TV title, and that's another person that can go for the 10 pounds of gold down the line. So, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I personally would like to see Tyrus move out of the wrestling role and either into a management / maybe take over for where Austin Idol was. That instead of Idol Sports Management, it would be Tyrus Sports Management, that he takes over and runs it as a company, being that he's on Fox News and does all this political stuff. Maybe his time for wrestling in the ring is coming to a close. But I mean, he can talk.
Yeah.
He brought me in with that emotion that I mean, he was speaking the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those moments for me, and they're far and few between, just being old, that where you go, wow, I wonder if he wouldn't be Jeremy I don't want him as world heavyweight champion. This didn't change that, but it made me feel like, wow, here's a guy that I'm interested in seeing in that match now. Like, he pulled me into it, and I got to give him credit that, maybe there's 2 months left or whatever before Hard Times 3, and we can see it'll still be a three-way dance by then. But but it really made me think maybe I wouldn't hate seeing him so much in the main event. How about you?
It definitely got me interested in him being in the match. I don't know. This almost kind of felt like a slight turn a little bit to me. Exposing himself, saying, I hesitated. I wanted to do this the right way. You're a heel. You cut every corner in the book to keep Mims from picking you up and slamming you and all that. So I kind of got that vibe from it. As far as a slight against the television title, I don't really see it as that, because he addressed that Dusty carried that, and just the delicateness that he put to folding it up and displaying it out, and the emotion that he gave with it. He acknowledged the legacy of that belt, but if you're not getting into wrestling for the main title, what are you in it for?
Yeah.
So I think that's my thought process with it anyways.
And he kept that heel persona by saying, I should have buried that bell on the side of Trevor's head, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And I hate myself for it.
Yeah.
It was great. I really enjoyed that segment. I think we all did. Just want to say hi to Media M5, who I think I just followed on Twitter for the first time. Just one of those weird misses where, like, why don't I follow this person? So my apologies for not getting to you earlier. And if you're listening to me and I don't follow you on Twitter, please hit me up and tell me to follow you, because I tend to kind of miss stuff like that. Now, James Bell, great comment here. Tyrus also appeared to stand up straighter than he normally does. When you see him all hunched over, he's right. He's a big guy who, we tend to slump. I'm almost 6'5" myself. We tend to kind of droop our heads, and he did stand up, fold that belt with some reverence and talk in that almost Trevor Murdoch-like monotone sense that that he'd been talking in. So that was.
And to that note, also, Joe Galley, the way that he just stood his ground as Tyrus was getting worked up and everything. Is that what you want to say? Go ahead, say it. Talk about it, Joe. Speak on it. And the way he stood his ground and just, I really like that as well. Joe is a very, very good interviewer for situations like those.
Yeah, my only drawback is that it reminded me of last season's Joe sometimes, where he gets very obstinate with the heels, and it's almost like he's going to be a feud with somebody, right? But he didn't go that far, so you're right. Well taken. Well, we go to Kyle Davis in the control center, which is normally something that I usually pass by, but it's sort of a new segment, because I always figure, he's going to be talking about Hard Times 3 or whatever. But he definitively says, this just in, Tyrus has relinquished the television title for a shot at the World Championship at Hard Times 3, which is now a 3-way match, including Matt Cardona. He also says, interestingly enough, there is a TV, I think he said at the time, a TV title tournament to follow for that vacated title. And we'll get into what that looks like as we get along further into the card. But looks like we'll have to be listening to Kyle in the control center a little bit more closely than we have in the past, because he's got some interesting stuff to impart. We go to Judez with Father James Mitchell versus the Thrillbilly Silas Mason with Pollo Del Mar in a national title tournament semifinal match. I know Pollo had said earlier that she's having some difficulty with her connection and hearing us, but we'll get into it. Maybe she'll have some insight. I did not realize, guys, going into this match, while I knew that Silas was a big guy, I did not realize he was Judez size. Jeremy?
Man. Yeah. Judez is a big guy. I had to look it up. Judez is built at 6'4", and Silas is built at 6'7". I'd almost say that Judez is closer to 6'3"-ish, possibly. because there was that looked to be more than an inch in height difference, to me, anyways.
Yeah, I was just surprised at the size of both of these guys, really. But this is a big hoss fight of blows. There's forearms and fists. Some of the highlights: Judez chokes Silas, as he's been liking to do recently with the ring apron. So Pollo distracts Judez long enough for Silas to recover. I believe this was the "Not Today, Satan" spot, and that was pretty funny. Long enough for Silas to recover. He gets his elbow drops and turnbuckle tosses in. They trade punches, they trade kicks. Like I said, it's a big fight. They're pretty evenly matched. Judez begins to take control with his choke slam finisher, but Silas bails right after the choke slam.
Yeah.
And Pollo actually at this point prevents the Sinister Minister from attacking him. But back inside the ring, it's the Thrill Ride by Thrillbilly Silas for the win. I thought this was a good match, and this being a tournament, national title tournament semifinal match, he will go into a three-way match with Dak Draper and Chris Adonis to see who faces Scion for the national title. Dave, your thoughts on this particular match?
I thought it was a really good big man match. They wrestled, they slugged it out, and they took it outside the ring just enough that their manager / second had a chance to have a little interaction. Overall, I mean, I thought it was a great match. I like that Silas is moving on, but I do feel that Judez is getting a little lost.
Yeah.
But he's been a big man, and he's been several seasons back. They need to find a way to build him up. I mean, he's hung with some of the better wrestlers, but if they're not going to push him, they should just have him be a diesel, have him be a bodyguard for somebody.
Yeah, that's a pretty good suggestion. He can be threatening and menacing, and maybe even more effective if he's not going to, from the outside. If he's not going to be effective inside the ring. Willie says his money in the match coming up is on Dak Draper. Wow, he would be the long shot, I would think, to win this one. I think his showing has been from the day that he signed up has been remarkable, and it's probably going to be enough. What did you think of this match, Jeremy?
I really enjoyed this match. This was I wrote. It was a solid match, and the first match that Judez has had that I've been looking forward to, and it delivered. I do agree with Dave that I think he would be more effective in like a bodyguard, just imposing presence type figure. But I went and did some looking, and Judez is 48 years old. He's been in the business since 99 was
Amazing.
when he made his debut. So you got a 20-plus year veteran that's stepping into a ring with a newcomer to the NWA, not necessarily a newcomer to the business, but a newcomer to the NWA, where Judez has had experience in front of the camera in TNA in the past and now in the NWA. So I think this was a good pairing between the two to put the camera savvy veteran in with someone that hasn't had a whole lot of screen time to help them learn how to work the camera a little bit better.
Yeah.
I kind of think Willie may be onto something with the Dak Draper thing, just because of his prior booking and the way that he came in and got highlighted. He didn't stare up at the ceiling his first match, right? So I think there may be something there, but I'm I'm holding all my hope out for Thrillbilly because of the way that they have built him
Yeah.
to this point. You know, I
And
don't necessarily think that he should win against Scion, but getting him to that point and then losing by maybe a hokey meaning or something, hokey means,
Mhm.
it still keeps him strong, but shows us what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, I'm all in on the Thrillbilly for this one too. I like the whole package with Pollo. I think it works. I think he has languished and suffered long enough as well with some of his results. Carlton Paget says Thrillbilly's a beast, and so is Judez, and I hope they take the belt off of Tyrus. So if you missed the beginning of the show or NWA USA this week, Tyrus has relinquished the television championship, and he is cashing in his lucky 7 for a shot at the 10 pounds of gold at Hard Times 3. So that'll be interesting. Media M5, who mentioned as well that Judez has started late. He's kind of getting bland, and he's an evil. There's nothing on him as evil as the minister says, and he's as bland as Magic Jake DeMoss. Yeah, he needs something. I think to Dave's point, he needs something to, to kick him into another letle. He started so strong too, I guess a season or so ago.
The beard is kind of evil looking, but the hair screams soccer mom, or emo kid, angry emo kid, something like, I agree with that. He's definitely not evil. I don't get evil vibes off of him with that hairdo.
Yeah, that is a hilarious soccer mom hairdo. I just see him on the sidelines. Come on, Billy, let's go.
Yeah.
Anyway, Media M5 says he loves the dynamic Thrillbilly and Pollo.
Yes.
The best
before
USA
the match even started, there was I'd slap your mama in the mouth if she was here, just like I'd slap you. I don't know what the person in the audience said, but I love his interactions with the crowd, and he's quick to pop right back at him to protect Pollo. So that's, it's great dynamic there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we go right after that to May Valentine with Anthony Mayweather. He's not Jeremy's favorite guy.
I wrote down Disney's the black hole.
For what, charisma? Is that what you're talking about?
He does. He eats that and does not utilize it.
Let's get into it. He basically gets out that he's here for a championship, and then he kind of looks off camera. He's like, "Why is Chris Silvio hiding back there? Why are you wearing a headset and microphone?" And I said to my wife, I think because he's a producer and he works here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and what was with the he wasn't 1,000 yards away. He's at most 15 feet.
I mean, so Silvio comes on the camera with the headset. He says, "Don't accuse me of espionage." And Mayweather says, "Look, I don't want anything to do with you or Jack Stain. I've signed up for the TV title tournament." And Chris says, "Yeah, well, like Jax was the first to sign up, and he did it. He signed up better, and I don't think you even signed up. You're a liar." And Mayweather, for some reason, snaps and tries to grab Chris Silvio, and security, like 6 security guards, have to kind of break it up right in front of poor May Valentine. I'll go to you first, Jeremy, because you're a bit animated around Anthony Mayweather and his lack of animation. What did you think of this segment?
For me, Silvio sold this segment. He made this, and I found his fair weather comment very fitting and timely. We had just talked about Mayweather Crimson, and he's in and out, and he's here and he's not, and Silvio did it for me. Keep Mayweather backstage. I'm fine with him being backstage and helping out back there. But keep your black hole of charisma away from the cameras.
I don't dislike him as much as you do, but Dave, I did like him better with Jack Stain as a team. What did you think of this segment?
It sort of threw me. I mean, like Jeremy said, Silvio loved his work. I'm not sure where they're going, but it's almost to the point of, okay, I can't have the national title. Let me try for this title. Let me try. I mean, granted, you're always wanting to try for a title, but at this point, use the older guys to help establish new talent.
Like
Right.
we saw in the match right before this segment.
Yeah. And I mean, that was, I mean, I didn't realize that Judez was 48 years old. I mean, hell, if I looked that way when I was 48, I'd be patting myself on the back like Barry Horowitz.
I don't look that way at 45 right now.
But it was what it was. It made its point.
Yeah.
I do like that Jax is letting Silvio do his bidding for him. That more or less, oh, you're not worth it. I'll let my lawyer / representative take care of you. I'll only deal with you if it's in the ring.
Right.
And I mean, who knows where they're going with it, but I mean, I'm just hoping over the next couple of weeks before the pay-per-view that everything comes into focus a little better.
Yeah, and we're early on. There's lots of TV to go before that particular pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Media says he'd rather watch Little House on the Prairie than Mayweather. Hey, we do not disparage Little House on the Prairie here. That was a good show growing up, man. Hey, the Tales of Half Point and her family out in the plains.
Laura Ingalls Wilder, who didn't love that show growing up?
That's right. Honestly, my sister watched it and I was in the room, but there you go. Hey, Black Hole, Willie says it's a great movie from Disney.
It is. That's. I felt bad whenever I wrote it down, but then it was already pinned to paper, so it was there.
Yep.
You know, I don't mean to disparage it at all. I loved that movie growing up.
Yeah. Carlton says Mayweather's boring. He agrees, and he thinks he and Jackson Dane should team up, go up for the U.S. Tag Team titles.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know if putting, like, Dane seems a little bit lost right now too, but he is also in this tournament, so we'll see what happens there. And Willie really would like to see Jax wrestle for the world title. I mean, Jax is also, despite the fact that he's enormous, he's one of those older guys, I believe now too. So yeah, we'll see what happens as we go along. We get a 6-way scramble match in the main event, however, as Colby Carino, Kerry Morton, Joe Alonzo, Peter Avalon, who, by the way, was the poster child for this episode of Power.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see pretty Peter Avalon back after, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons in the NWA.
Yeah.
PJ Hawks and Mike Bennett. A lot of talent in one place at one time. The winner gets a shot at the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. This was about as high intensity a match as I think you can have when 4 guys are always on the outside.
Yeah.
But for what it was, for me, it was pretty good. Some of the highlights were, Alonzo hit this great springboard cutter. The Death Valley driver by Bennett. Avalon's start to the match where he kind of, came in like he did the whole "look how pretty I am" super kick, up into PJ's face. That was neat. He did that second rope standing moonsault. He's looking good in the ring. and everyone does their stuff. PJ does his suplexes. Colby does the Colby crash onto Bennett. In the end, and I'm taking nothing away from Kerry Morton by saying this, he was the least impressive guy in the match. I thought, and he hits the kiss it goodbye on Alonzo to win. Dave, a lot going on in this match. What did you think?
I did like it, but it's almost like they're pushing the baby face down your throat. Oh, here's Kerry again. Here's Kerry again. The only thing was, his dad wasn't out there helping him.
Right.
Nothing against him, but he's had several chances.
Yeah.
If you're going to keep the belt on Homicide, unless they're going for a belt change, have several people going after the belt, not just Kerry. You have Kerry and Colby Carino that have been going after the belt. PJ has, but he's also been teaming with his dad. Push the new guy, push Alonzo. I don't know how long Avalon's going to be there or be involved with the NWA, but if they're willing to give him a shot, set up several people that can have a chance at the belt. That way you're not scrambling if something should happen to your number one contender, your number two contender, it just piggy move up. That if Kerry Morton is doing an independent show and twists his ankle, what happens now?
Right. Yep.
They can go, okay, well, you beat so-and-so. They were the last person in the ring with you. They're now moving up to take your place.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. Again, I guess we have lots of time left before this particular match takes place. And it does feel like it's getting time to maybe start winding Homicide's time with the championship down, but that could be me. Media M5 says I'd rather see Avalon than Kerry Morton. Avalon's much more polished. Morton still looks like he's confused on what he's doing in the ring. I think he's green. And I kind of agree that, with Carlton here, they might be pushing him a bit too early. But maybe he's ready. What do you think, Jeremy? What do you think of this match and Kerry getting that shot?
As far as the match went, I enjoyed the action that was shown in the ring because it was primarily 1v1. But that leads into, since we primarily saw 1v1 in the ring, why wasn't this set up as a tournament instead? Yeah. Since you were just highlighting what these guys could do, primarily 1v1, that's the way that the match was produced. Right. Why didn't we just get this? But that goes back to, I'm not in the room whenever they're deciding how these are being laid out, what's moving forward. I don't know what we're going to see. So I'm going to hold out hope on that. As far as Kerry winning, I wrote that I kind of figured that it was going to be Kerry or PJ that was going to win.
Yeah.
Alonzo would have been the swerve, but it would have been too on the nose, I feel, with him and what Sion's going through. I really wanted Bennett to win.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see Mike Bennett move forward. I know he's been in the business for a while, but I think, for me anyways, he helps he's a lot better. I enjoy watching him more than I do Sion. Sion got lost, and he's been around since season 1. Yeah.
Maybe. It kind of starts to blend together now, but yeah, maybe.
He's been around for so long, and the whole thing with Idol, I'm just not interested in that completely. So I don't know. I wish Bennett had won.
I think, Dave, because there's a tag team element to Mike Bennett with the OGK, that maybe they it's one of those things, like I feel like it always happens to FTR and
Yeah.
where they take one of those guys because they're great wrestlers and then they lose them as singles because it doesn't hurt them as part of a tag team to do so. Is Kerry the right guy to go into Hard Times 3?
I think he's still a little young in the business.
Yeah.
But with his name and who his dad is, he could carry the belt. But then it's almost like another rendition of Scion and Idol. Hey, Dad, look, I have the title you held.
Right.
So
go ahead.
I found something very interesting online. Do you guys remember Jay Spade?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Big
Yeah.
fan. Yeah.
He posted about Wildcat and Hard Times. He wrestles there.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't
Sure does.
he win a chance to go after the title?
Please.
Could somebody take out Kerry Morton and, hey, I won a chance. Let me go after the belt.
Right.
Whether it be at Hard Times or at the Revolution Rumble the next day, they're having that taping. That'll be 3 or 4 episodes of Power. So if you don't take the belt off of Homicide at Hard Times 3, it can always be done the next day. Not all belts have to be won or lost at a pay-per-view.
That's right. I mean, and there are precedents all throughout wrestling, especially in the NWA, of, hey, I won a belt, and then Jack Stain's like, great, I'm going to take it from you like 2 days later. Like,
Yeah.
So it could just be something as simple as that, where if Kerry Morton wins, and then at Revolution Rumble, you got Jay Spade just like, I'm going to cash in right now, please. That might be great as well. I feel like I've missed some of the stuff here. Let me just see. James Bell says, I was there for the taping and I felt the same about Kerry's performance, and I'm not looking forward to see him going against Homicide again. I think that those guys could work a good match together, with Homicide leading that particular, dance. But I agree, and Jay just pointed out too, there's too many rematches from '74. We don't need to see, 74 part 3, I guess, night 3. And Carlton says Kerry's not the right guy, but for now, but Austin Aries is out there, and he's a great worker with name recognition. Yeah, Aries versus Morton would be great. We've had Austin Aries in the NWA before. I mean, I don't know, obviously, Austin Aries from Adam. But we know that he doesn't stick around too often in some of the places that he's in. So he usually comes in for short visits, and he's always great in the ring to see. So I guess we'll see what happens. And that wraps up one of the best NWA USAs that we've seen, as someone mentioned before. But then on Tuesday, September 27th, yesterday, we got NWA Power Surge, or Pretty Empowered Surge, if you like, even if you don't like, Season 10, Episode 1, hosted by Pretty Empowered. And I want to say right off the bat, I have nothing against Pretty Empowered. It's nice to see a nice pair of young women who are, given so much time, and plus they're pretty good on the mic. I used to think in the beginning, just as an aside, that Kenzie Paige was the standout of that team because she has improved so much over the last year. But Ella Envy, I think, is if I were making a top 10, she'd probably just outrank her on that list right now for me. But we'll get into the top 5 later. This one, we're doing results only on this one. I'll jump back between you guys back and forth. Feel free to speak up if you want to talk on the other guy's stuff. Marty Bell versus Maddie, just Maddie. My notes, not great. This was Marty Bell with the Protect Your Neck. Dave, any thoughts?
It wasn't a bad match. I think they're just trying to build some of the women up with the talk of a women's TV title possibly coming in down the line.
Yeah.
That they're just, hey, we have these women here. We need to have at least 2 to 3 decent to good to great women that we can highlight. That if the Hex isn't going to be going after the tag belts, have both of them go after the new TV title if it does get pushed. I think it would be too many belts myself. I think they have too many belts already, but I don't sign the checks.
Yeah, that's right. It is what it is. As you say, it's here to highlight some of the talent, which is really what this particular show seems to be scrambling together. Pretty Empowered has a segment with Kerry Morton where essentially they flirt with him. It was pointless, other than the fact that they get to show their characters a little bit, and then Kerry at the end, who's kind of between them. It was, I don't know if you guys caught it, but right at the end of the segment, he kind of pointed to each of them like, me, you want to like all 3 of them together, and they cut it. We get immediately, however, the Strange Bedfellows match, the Ill Begotten and the Spectaculars, Jeremy's eyes are already closed, versus Miserably Faithful and the Dirty Sexy Boy. So, to be fair, this is an 8-man tag team match with the Ill Begotten and the Spectaculars together versus Gags and Sal and JTG and Dirty Dango. Dango pins Pierce after a Falcon Arrow. My notes were garbage. Jeremy, what did you think?
Flaming hot garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Continuity. Again, why are we seeing the Spectaculars, Rush Freeman, and why are we seeing them paired up with the Ill Begotten? They should be going against each other. We should be seeing a match between those two.
Yeah. I mean, this was just a mess. It was a mess, and perhaps the least said about it, the better. But we're back to Pretty Empowered with Roxy, their new member. It's a short segment designed to show how they're going to treat Roxy poorly, and as a junior member of their team, she's not as good as them.
Jason Newsted.
Yeah. It reminded me of like they're kind of doing a Mean Girls bit right now. Mm-hmm. Remind me of her name, guys. The one she had the burn book. I think she went over to AEW after her time in NWA.
Danny Jordan.
Danny Jordan.
Yep.
Yeah. It reminded me of what they're doing is something like that. And Carlton agrees. Garbage plus 1 equals trash. Well, maybe I think he means Pretty Empowered, but I don't mind Pretty Empowered themselves. However, we go to what should be the highlight of the show is the Red Titus versus Bestia 666. Sace, perhaps. Titus rolls up Bestia after Damien misses Titus with the red mist and hits his own son. It was a decent match at best. Who did the? Oh yeah, Dave. I think it's over to you. What did you think of this match?
I thought it was like you said, it was a decent match. I mean, they're both very good wrestlers. I wouldn't mind Titus finding someone as a tag partner because I mean he can go, and I mean he won the match, and you can say it was a tainted victory, but a win is a win. I mean, they're both solid wrestlers,
Yeah.
and they played well off of each other. I wouldn't mind seeing Titus find somebody as a tag partner to go after those belts.
Now I know him and Gresham are in the foundation. Who else is? Do we know who else is members of the foundation that he could possibly
Who
bring
was
in?
it? Was it? I'm trying to think who else.
Because I don't see Gresham coming in for a tag team run. I don't.
No, I'd have to look it up. I'm not really sure.
It could be a nice group to leverage, though, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Pretty empowered again, back this time with Kylan King. My only note: pointless. So we go to Scion versus the Now in a handicap match, and I was so afraid as to what would happen here. I'm like, are they really going to feed the Now, who are, you know, they look like a tag team, they move like a tag team. There is a larger upside to them as a tag team than almost, 90% of the tag teams that we have in the NWA. I'm not saying they're FTR or the Briscoe brothers, but I'm saying, like, they look good. They double team together well. Are they really going to feed them to Scion here? Because they ain't going to feed Scion to the Now, right?
Right.
Well, it's the Now winning by countout after Austin Idol bails Scion out of the ring and refuses to go with this. What was the point of this match, guys? Tell me what was the point of this?
Billy's amusement.
Not sure.
Yeah, I mean, nobody looked good here. It was like Scion does a little well, and then the Now just takes over, and then he bails, and like, we'll see you guys later. What?
Well, and J Cow touched on this on the pre-party yesterday. It's booking for an audience of one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a waste of celluloid to me.
Yeah, they got out of this thing the best I thought they could, but they should never have gotten into it. There were so many other things you could have done. The Now versus any one of the four teams that were in the Strange Bedfellows match, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway,
or if you were gonna put them in a squash match, essentially, why not have them go up against? We could have had Dio Begotten against the Spectaculars, and we could have seen the Now against the Dirty Sexy Boys, and who else was it? That's how much I didn't pay attention to that match.
Yeah, who cares, right?
But we could have seen that if that's what it was going to be,
It's true, and Carl's, it echoes your point. Like, Scion could just cut out a squash match and go to the podium and cut a promo.
Yeah,
I would rather have seen that happen.
Or he could have attacked one of them coming out to the ring and took him out, and then squashed the other one in the ring. The other one decide I'm moving forward with this regardless. So many different avenues that could have been taken.
It was terrible, and the show is just bad up to this point, with the exception of Titus and Bastia. Anyway, Kyle Davis, again, back at the control center that we mentioned earlier, we're going to pay attention to. He announces by name AAA Triplemania 30, the match of Kamille versus Taya Valkyrie, which I know Dave will touch on in just a couple of minutes. And that is going to be for their championship down there, and before Hard Times 3. Also, he says NWA USA will host 2 5-person matches where the winners will square off for the NWA television title. Now, it's not clear to me if that's all next week, but it sounds like there's going to be a whole 2 5-person matches, and then we'll see a new TV champion directly after that. And the people in those 2 matches, and I say people because they are Ricky Morton, Jack Stain, Anthony Mayweather, Marche Rocket, AJ Kazana, Caprice Coleman, Jordan Clearwater, Pope, Rush Freeman, and Max the Impaler. And I thought, all right, like the non-binary nightmare goes to between the women and the men, and we will not just be seeing them in one thing or the other. Dave, I know you're going to talk about the booking of Kamille and Taya very shortly. What did you think for this TV title situation of how they're going to decide who the new TV champion is overall?
I mean, if they knew their plan with Tyrus, they could have stretched out the TV title and done more than 2 matches for this 5-man scramble or whatever they're calling it. I think it's, I'm not going to say lazy booking, but they're taking the easy way out.
Yeah.
Whether it be time restraints of them having to film so much over a 3-day period, all that tells me is that you need to film more often. Mm-hmm. Instead of every 9 weeks, it should be every 6 weeks. Right. That way you have your 6 weeks done, plus you have some in the can if need be.
Yeah, or every 4 even, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But if you set up a schedule, and then like if you would do every 4 weeks, then you'd go 4 weeks, pay-per-view. 4 weeks, pay-per-view. That it doesn't have to be after every set of tapings, or it doesn't have to be a set of tapings after every pay-per-view. That you could basically double up, and after one pay-per-view, unless they want to do a taping, or they could just do specific, we're doing a USA taping. Right. And they could do that for the whole season, for 8 weeks. It's up to them, but they need to sit down and decide programming-wise what they're going to do. Now, with all these people in it, 4 of the people in the match are in tag teams. Mm-hmm. It's the TV title.
Yeah.
The TV title is a way to start off. Well, why not throw Alonzo in there? Why not throw some newer talent in there? They don't have to win. They just need to have a good showing.
Well, I'd like to see Jordan Clearwater break away in this particular tournament. What do you think, Jeremy? You want to jump in on that one?
In regards to the way that they're formatting the tapings right now, in an interview that I saw with Joe Galley about a month back or so, I think, he did address that, and in 23, I think we will be seeing a shorter taping schedule, or a more streamlined, regularly occurring taping schedule. He didn't go into any type of detail about it or anything like that, I don't recall, but he did touch on that. So I think they're letting this year finish out the way that they've been doing it, but then starting in 23, I think they're looking to hit the ground running.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this up on the screen. Carlton says, Jordan Clearwater is the truth and could be the next Ric Flair. I'm going to pull a Teddy Long. Easy, player. You know, for that comment, you get one on the Undertaker one-on-one tonight. No, put the title on him, let him do his thing. He's clearly a future.
Yeah.
TV title, I absolutely agree.
He's still, I said this a couple weeks back, I think he's still young enough that he could have he could withstand a short title run here and there, you know. But he's definitely the future of the business. The kid he's good.
Yeah, he looks like $1 million, and there's we talk about upside around here all the time, but he's certainly got a big one.
Yeah.
They go to a replay of Kamille versus Maxie and Paler at NWA 74. I'm kind of glad they slapped this in. I guess it's the best thing on this particular show, but we've looked at this before, and it was one of the best 2 matches of NWA 74 itself.
Yep.
And then Pretty Empowered, sign off. They were crying, boo-hoo. So am I, because boy, I had to watch this. Like I said earlier, Jay, if you're still watching, this is your particular burden to dive into tomorrow night, and I vaya con Dios, muchacho.
Have fun and best wishes. My condolences, sir.
Yeah. All right, let's go do some United Wrestling Network Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Memphis results. Over to you, Jeremy, my friend.
And in that order this week, I'm going to start off with Hollywood first.
Great.
We start off with a match between BHK, Kevin Martinson, and a debuting Atticus Cogar, Cogar. Cogar had a solid debut, but he's no match for Martinson's brainbuster in the end. Then we jump to El Primo Henio in the middle of the ring, calling out Lord Crew and Halston Body, and they come out to oblige. A shocking win ensues for El Primo Henio as Dom Kubrick is able to take advantage of a Halston Body distracted referee and lay out Crew, allowing Primo Henio to get the roll-up pin. So I'm excited to see where that goes moving forward. There's major tension between the 3 of those gentlemen.
Nice.
Then we go to Jack Banning and Divine in the back, talking about his upcoming match between Judez and the main event tonight. And we get a match between a debuting Candy Girl and Savannah Stone. Candy Girl started out strong, showing her speed and a ability in the ring, but she's quickly stopped and planted by a brutal pop-up power bomb in the middle by Savannah Stone. She is becoming a lot more aggressive in her exploits in the ring, and looks to be on a collision course with Zeta Zane. Then we jump to Jordan Clearwater with Prince Nana backstage, and they talk about Clearwater's future and him being the Golden King, and that opens up every door. And with every person that decides to step through those doors, forbidden or not, he will continue to win.
Midas touch, baby.
Yes, sir. And then in the main event, we get Judez versus Divine. This was the first match for Judez in his quest to get his hands on Jack Banning. He hits Divine with the Black Magic Bionic Elbow from the top rope for the win. But at what cost? This was a brutal match. He still has 2 more individuals that he's got to go through in the institution with Honest John, who came out towards the end and allowed Judez to get in position to set Divine up to take that bionic elbow. So he's got a tough road ahead of him. I'll give him that. Then we jump to Championship Wrestling from Memphis, and we start out with the Memphis Heritage #1 contender match against Casanova Colton Cage and a Reality of Wrestling returning Will Allday. Allday's lower ribs and abdomen are wrapped up, and they instantly are targeted. In the end, though, a well-placed super kick by Allday gets his hand raised. So he is our new #1 contender for the Memphis Heritage Championship. And then he goes on after that match to say that he wanted to challenge Colton because he won. the initial #1 contenders match, and he had a good showing, but he wants to prove that he can take out Mike Anthony. I hope so, but I don't know. Mike Anthony's got a death grip on that title right now. Then we jump to backstage with Mackenzie Morgan and Austin Lane. Austin had a chance to talk with Teddy Long, and next week we'll see Austin Lane versus Matt Williams in a bull rope match. So Matt Williams will not be able to get away from Austin Lane this time.
Wow.
Then we jump to a Memphis tag team match between the LA Hustlers and Memphis Muscle. The LA Hustlers win via countout after the posse were filmed in the parking lot going through Big Swell Justin Cole's truck, and Memphis Muscle go out to investigate. Simon lays out Cole with a sledgehammer to the back of the head, so that is definitely accelerating and amping up between the posse and Memphis Muscle, and expect to see something between those two happening pretty soon, I would gather. Then we get Trace Lee Hunt versus Jason Genesis with Goddess. This is a big win for Jason Genesis as he hit a variation of a curb stop. He kind of hit him with his knee instead of his foot, and it looked a lot worse than a curb stop, if that's possible. I mean, curb stop's kind of a brutal move anyways, but bringing that knee into it instead just made it look a lot worse. Then we get our main event with Derek the King and Van Vicious. The stipulation of this match was made last week by Teddy Long. If Derek the King wins, he's no longer a personal assistant to the Hollywood Clique. And if Ref Ray Ray doesn't call it down the middle, he's fired. Derek the King hits the super kick, and Ref Ray Ray counts to 3 hesitantly, but does hit the 3, and Derek the King is no longer beholden to the Hollywood Clique. Yay! As far as I know, Ref Ray Ray kept his job. He did uphold his end of the bargain and call it down the middle. I don't think this will be the end of Derek the King having to deal with the Hollywood Clique, but they are definitely weakened a lot now. So that was my recap of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Memphis. And as I say every week, if you're not watching it, are you really a wrestling fan?
Yeah, I just put the Twitter and the YouTube link to up in the chat right now. Like I've said before about how the NWA is kind of like a minor league sports team, and I mean that with all reverence, because there are some great minor league sports teams out there with thousands and thousands of fans.
Toledo Mud Hens.
Yeah, look, I'm a Canadian. I don't get down to the U.S. very often, but I went back 30 years ago, probably now, to a Notre Dame Fighting Irish game. There had to be 100,000 people in that collegiate stadium, and I'm not even making that number up. So, I mean, the UWN is very similar to that. It's like watching. Hockey's big up here. It's like watching World Juniors, right? You're going to see the superstars of tomorrow right now. And it's worth the follow. Like there's so many choices that we have. You could watch all kinds of the stuff you hear about, different leagues that I don't follow. Like I think for Jeremy and I especially, but this is one that you should follow. Yeah. The production value alone makes it worth watching, and the talent level is great.
And Memphis has such a history with wrestling, and while Memphis wrestling falls under the umbrella of UWN, that's solely Dustin Starr's and the people that he's brought in to help him along and build up his vision. That's solely what they're envisioning. That's not David. David Marquez doesn't have any as far as I understand, doesn't have any input on what they do on their show. And even Marquez has tweeted out that they're laying out the blueprint in Memphis right now for how you should bring about an hour-long program on television
Yeah.
and do it properly.
Yeah, it's great. It's funny. Media said earlier the TV title match in the NWA where those guys blocked by Teddy Long too. But I don't know if you guys have been following that on Twitter, but Teddy's had some account problems where he appears to be blocking everyone. And I believe he tweeted something where he was like, "I'm not doing this. Something's going on." Jay says David's a partner, but it's Dustin's show.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
please.
Great mind.
Yeah, to take our word for it, it is worth the watch, and we love pitching it here and talking about it. So thank you, Jeremy.
Yep.
Before we go into Dave's, as kind of an appetizer for going into Dave's fantasy booker of the week segment around Kamille and Taya Valkyrie. Let's have a little palate cleanser and get into that particular move with the top 5 women's singles wrestlers. I don't think this will take long. I don't think our 5 will be significantly different than each other, but we don't tell each other what those 5 are before the show. So Dave, why don't you give us your top 5 from 5 down to 1?
All right. 5, I have Maxie and Paler. 4, Natalia Markova.
Oh.
3, Kylan King. 2, Taya. And number 1, the one-time champion, Kamille.
I think that's a pretty good order. Excuse me. It's 5 is always like the fun one to try to put in there. Who's it going to be? And yeah. So I mean, 1 and 2 we get right. Yep. For sure. Who did you have at number 3?
Kylan King.
Kylan King, yeah. Sort of as the vanguard to the title.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty good choice. It's like it's almost feels like she still is, but like Taya got past the guardian at the gate, so to speak, so she gets her shot now. How about you, Jeremy?
At 5, I had Genocide because it's more of a kind of willing her getting more ring time in the NWA into existence than anything. Then for 4, I had Max the Impaler. For 3, I had Allison Kay. For 2, I had Taya, and for 1, I had Kamille.
Yeah, very similar picks, and I guess the reasons are fairly evident. Maybe if we do these things more, we'll end up doing a top 10 and try to fleshing it out a little bit.
Yeah.
For me, I had 5 was Allison Kay, and I got to say, Dave, it's because I forgot about Natalia Markova. You're probably right. It's probably Natalia Markova at number 5, but I got Allison Kay. I'll stick with that. And I think she's probably they've kind of winked at us at the camera and said, hey, we've primed her for the TV championship. So it feels like that might be the case. Kylan King, for the reasons we just mentioned, for me at number 4. Max the Impaler for number 3, because it feels like she'll be next up again after Taya or Kamille take it out, and then 2 and 1 are Taya and Kamille. And I don't know how long Kylan King's going to stay there, but we'll see how that particular goes. It is interesting to see as we get up into 3, 4, 5 what order we all kind of pick them in, but good chat. Like I say, it's a nice quick little appetizer for let's look at the fantasy booking around Kamille, Taya Valkyrie, and Triplemania and Hard Times 3. Maybe warm us up a little bit to remind us about what's going on there.
So exciting.
Well, it's coming up, like you said, October 15th. Kamille and Taya Valkyrie, AAA Triplemania. You can check it out on Fight TV. I just ordered it. I want to watch that match. I went and did some looking back at Triplemania. And Taya's been champion, I believe, 4 or is on her 5th time. And this is going back to 2014. So she has a history with them. But I also looked at a lot of the matches are multi-women matches for championships. They've had such stars as like Sexy Star win. But because, I mean, Taya is from Canada, but she broke in down in Mexico. She had to learn to speak Spanish. She had to earn her keep there. 10, 12-hour bus rides to and from specific places. But her not being a native of Mexico, she's the next best thing.
Right.
But she's all over. She has several different championships. She has the AAA championship, but she's also in Impact Wrestling as well as NWA. Several other people that have held the AAA Reina Del Rey's championship is Deonna Purrazzo. She's currently tagging with Chelsea Green. But just over the last few days, I guess Chelsea had to go in for surgery for a deviated septum.
Oh.
So she will not be wrestling in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Well, what happens in the next 6 to 8 weeks? Well, you have Triplemania and you have Hard Times. Taya won the belt at Triplemania. Well, no, it wasn't Triplemania, but she won the belt from Deonna Purrazzo, who held the AAA Reina Del Rey's championship. So could there be a run-in at Triplemania? It saves everybody. They already have a match at Hard Times. And if Taya keeps the belt at Triplemania and then goes to Hard Times and loses to Kamille, who's the next person that Kamille can face? She's been through everybody, with the exception of Genocide. If Genocide isn't ready for it, possibly the women's TV title down the line. But Deonna Purrazzo was also at Empowered last year.
Right.
So if she's out of the plans in Impact with the tag championships because Chelsea is injured, Chelsea doesn't have to wrestle in the NWA, but she can bring her friend in to go after the belt that she can't get. So it sets up either Taya and Deonna for a title rematch, or Deonna coming in at Hard Times. If Taya loses at Hard Times but wins at AAA, she's still strong. Everybody stays strong one way or another. They didn't lose, it was by disqualification. It wasn't the clean-cut loss or win. It was due to outside interference. There's no title change. So it possibly, I mean, this is just me doing the fantasy booking. Deonna Purrazzo has history with the NWA, be it one night. But she could come back. Her and Chelsea are literally best friends. So she could become a Cardona family member ad hoc. hey, Chelsea, my best friend is injured. I'm stepping in for her. You have a new challenger coming over. That could go for, I mean, who knows how long these tapings will go and take us into the new year. But until they get another challenger, why not use a former champion to build up our champion?
Right. That's a great viewpoint. And if anyone listens to some of this stuff and just goes, well, like, you know, it's conjecture, anything could happen. Yeah. But Dave, what did you predict would happen with the television championship in the NWA, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what came to pass.
Yep.
And cashing it in on the lucky seven, and everyone looks strong. I like how in this scenario everyone ends up looking strong as well.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I mean, if you go with like the triple threat that they're having now, Tyrus, depending on where he goes, if he ends up getting defeated and pinned, Trevor wins, Cardona can still say, hey, you never pinned me. I still have a chance at that title. It keeps the story going.
Yep.
Matt Cardona may have come back a little too early. He's wrestling, but he's not wrestling at 100%, I don't believe.
No.
But it keeps the story going. And if they shorten up the time in between TV tapings, and all the talents know that, hey, every 6, 7, 8 weeks we're going to have a TV taping instead of every 10 to 12, they can start making their calendars out and say, hey, I can't be booked for this, this, and this.
Right.
Yep.
Another thing I find interesting is Billy is on tour. The Smashing Pumpkins are on tour with Perry, Porno for Pyros.
Oh, really?
They're
Wow, that's
doing-
an old blast from the past.
They're doing a tour, and Smashing Pumpkins will be up in, I believe, Seattle, Washington.
Mhm.
And then the next day they'll be in Portland, Oregon. So unless Billy's going to fly back and forth to make sure things are okay, I'm hoping whoever is in charge, whether it be Dr. Tom, who just came in and is helping, or Pat Kenny,
Mhm.
or whoever, just do what's asked of you, but make it a good show.
100%.
It's one of these things of do it for the fans. I'm not going to say not for Billy, but like we've said before, it seems to be a one-man show sometimes. Sometimes you have to just do what's right and deal with the consequences.
Yep. Great thoughts. I got one for you for next week, and I just
Okay.
thought of it as I was sitting here. You know, and listen, obviously, do your own thing, man. But I would like to see, like, one of my favorite feuds of all time, maybe my most favorite feud, is the 7 Levels of Hate.
Oh yeah,
And because it was done in such a eclectic, non-traditional way, 7 different locations, different promotions, Adam Pearson and Colt Boom Boom Cabana, for those who don't know, it didn't have the coverage that other feuds, uh, you know, did at that time. Although Adam Pearce corrected me on Twitter not that long ago, saying Championship Wrestling from Hollywood had a bunch of it, and another station as well. But it was still back when, this is when the eyes were not on the NWA. It was still PWI's third runner up, right? It was third place for feud of the year. And it was so much fun to see that 7 different matches, different styles of matches. Who would be worthy of going in and having that particular? What made me think of it is, the Pumpkins you mentioned are on tour. Wouldn't it be cool to kind of match that up someday with one of those tour events? But just to see 7 matches over, I don't know, 14 days or whatever, and just film the crap out of that thing. Like, I don't know. Anyway, that's something to think about. I think media likes that particular idea as well. Love to see Cabana back in the NWA. Why not?
Why not?
There's everyone's got opinions about what's happening over in AEW right now, and you know what everyone else has. So we all have those. Apparently, he's very open to coming back to the NWA to work. So that'd be great. He's got a great legacy here, and he's so much more than has been seen on AEW television or beyond. But Dave, that was amazing. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure as always. Tell us where they can find you online right now, Jeremy.
I'm on Twitter at HJWOTS. It's the only place you'll find me right now. I think I said a couple weeks ago that I'm looking into possibly doing a MLW recap on My Wrestling with the MMA YouTube channel. So as soon as I start seeing that pop up, I'm gonna probably get to work on that.
That's great. We'll get you on another social media platform, and the sky's the limit.
I don't know about all that.
Dave, how about you?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dave Scooby. Instagram is more just stupid stuff that I post. Twitter, probably about 90% of it is wrestling related. And of that, probably about 80% of the 90% is NWA related or MLW related.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. I'm at on Twitter as well at NWA Gold _. But follow alliance-wrestling.com as a website, and which is updated very frequently on a multiple times a day with stuff from all over independents and around the world. And Jay's at the Alliance blog on Twitter and all the other social media platforms as well. Just before we go, Willie says, bring Eli Drake back to the NWA. Yeah. Not going to happen, but that would be nice regardless. But anyway, that is it for us. Please join us every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the Original Alliance Guys podcast tomorrow night with J-Cal, DKM, and Jaden. They will be deep diving into Pretty Empowered Surge. Sorry, guys. And looking at all kinds of news and information from around the NWA. They're going to be talking about that TV title tournament and everything that goes along with it. And also, of course, Tuesday nights, Jay himself hosts the hottest hour before Power, the pre-party with J-Cal, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. That is the flagship one-man show that is the foundation for the Alliance blog. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate all of your comments. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.